Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how I do my faux fur pom-poms. This is a list of items you're going to need. Here I am just cutting a square, a 5x5 square. You should be using an X-Acto knife. Your girl is using a box cutter because that's what I had. Please do not come for me in the comments. You want to be able to cut just the back side of the fabric. You don't want to cut through the actual hair or it'll be really ugly. It's going to be very choppy. Okay, so here I am. I have my 5x5 square. I cleaned it up. I'm getting my needle and my thread ready. I'll go ahead and have a close-up in just a moment. I like to use this thread just because it's a little bit thicker and it doesn't pop as quickly as regular thread would. Here I am just threading my needle, and I'm going to go ahead and sew all the way around the square. It doesn't matter where you start on your square as long as you sew it entirely all the way around. Granted, some people cut in squares, some people cut circles. I prefer the square just because it's easier for me to cut. I like to start in the middle. Again, you can start anywhere you prefer, and I'm just going to quickly sew all the way around. Now that I've gotten back to where I first started threading, I'm just going to go ahead and tighten it as best as I can. I pull both my working thread and the thread I had to start with. I was just cleaning off some extra fur that came out. I still leave a little hole because I need to add in the poly-fil. You can kind of gauge how much poly-fil you want just by the thickness of it. You don't want it too hard or too soft. That's the hole. I wish I would have used a different color, but I was just working on white. I should have probably worked on the black for you guys to maybe see it a little bit better. Here's the poly-fil. That's all the poly-fil that I used. I took off little pieces and went in. Some people don't use poly-fil. Some people use scrap yarn. Use whatever you have. What matters is that it gets filled. Okay? Once I'm happy with the amount of poly-fil that I have, I just go ahead and tighten it. I tighten it up. Here I am kind of blowing it, fluffing it to see if I like the shape of it, overall the feel, etc. Once I'm happy with what I have, I'm just taking both of my ends here and I'm just making a couple knots just to secure it. Once that's nice and tight, I go ahead and push back the fur so that I can see my opening. Again, it's hard to kind of tell, but you can see that lighter gray middle. That is the poly-fil and that is the hole that is left. What I'm going to do now is take my thread and go back and forth between that open hole and try to make it as small and non-existent as possible. Again, it is hard to tell and the angle wasn't the best. Please excuse me, I recorded this over a year ago. Someone did request this video and I figured why not use what I have at the moment to get it out sooner. The winter is over for me, at least. I won't be making poms again until maybe June, July. So I figured why not use what I already have. Again, I'm kind of just going back and forth and closing up that hole as best as possible. When I redo this video, I'll make sure to use a brown fur so that you guys can see it a little bit better and stay on frame ideally. I also want to note that I am pushing the fur back as much as I can while pulling on the thread as hard as I can as well, which is why I prefer a thicker thread. You're going to go ahead and just close it up as best as you can, and you want to also make sure that you're putting the thread through that white fabric or the fabric backing and not actual hair. If you put it through hair, you're not really doing much of anything. You want to get it through that that backing that it has, that fabric backing. That's where you're going to be sewing into. That's what you're cutting. That's the main thing you're working with. So again, I'm just tightening as best as I can. Now I'm done. This part is completely optional. If you noticed before, there were 2 strings. You can use those 2 strings to tie it onto your hat. Here I am using a snap. I'm just going to sew my snap in. That's why also you can maybe see my hole isn't as small as possible, or isn't 100% closed. For me, that's okay because I know my snap is going to finish closing it out. I'm just going ahead and getting that in. I like to work on opposite ends so that I can make sure, again, I'm just securing both the hole and the snap to the pom-pom. Some other options are buttons that you can use. Some people switch out and use an elastic fabric that you can go ahead and, again, tie and remove. It's all personal preference. I like the snap. If you don't add any additional closings, that's perfectly fine. All of this is personal preference. Some people prefer to permanently adhere their poms to their hats, and that's why we're making these, right? You get that option, that versatility with your poms that you may not particularly have, and you save a lot more money. Depending on how much you're able to find the fur for, you can save a boatload. A yard of fur can be anywhere between maybe $5 to $15, and you can easily get 10 to 20 poms, while one pom alone, depending on where you buy it from, can be anywhere between $1 to $5. So depending on the amount of fabric you get for the price per yard, you're saving a lot of money. Granted, this is very time consuming and it does take a lot of strength. It is very cumbersome to pull the needle through the thick fabric, pushing the hair back. But again, you save a lot of money and you get a lot more versatility. I'm done sewing the snap onto the pom. I'm just removing the fur out of the way, trying to make it clean. I'm going to go ahead and tie up my 2 ends and then stick my needle through the pom and just cut any excess thread. That thread will get lost in the pom. Again, here I am just blowing on it, fluffing it out, just making sure that it's how I like it. Again, if you do order poms, it'll probably come flat. You do want to give it a nice fluff. This is what it looks like on my products. I make sure that all my poms have the same parts and my hats have the opposite part, the male and female part, so that I can go ahead and adhere them correctly. Here's the white on my rose pink hat. And then I also have other poms as well. This is my fox pom on the hat. So it does give clients versatility when you do have removable or non-removable poms. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you found this tutorial insightful.